F22. Overheard my boyfriend's M27 session. He wants me to keep the baby. We've known I was pregnant for around 2 weeks, I am approximately 9 weeks. When I told him I was getting an abortion, he simply said okay and kissed me. My boyfriend has therapy sessions and I always leave the room when he does them. I nap a lot lately, as expected, and he did them right outside the room yesterday. I woke up during the middle of one of his sessions, and I admit, I eavesdropped. I was hearing my name, and he told his therapist that I was pregnant. He wanted the baby but I didn't, and although he's supportive, he can't help but feel sad. I just laid in the same position until he was done, so he didn't think I heard, but I did, loud and clear. I just don't feel confident in my decision anymore. I assumed that he was on the same page as me. Now that I know he's not, it changes everything. Hearing him go on and on about it for 30 minutes. My appointment is in a couple days, but I don't know if I can go through with it now. What should I do? He is allowed to his feelings. You are allowed to be sad too. Not hurting his feelings is not a good enough reason to choose to have a child. Sit down and have a serious conversation. Honestly, he sounds mature. He's not trying to change your decision, he's being supportive. Regardless of your choice, that's a sign of a good guy. Also, stop visiting his trust and listening to his sessions. He can still feel sad about the decision and support you at the same time. He's working through his shit and he accepted your decision. Don't have a baby just because not having it makes your boyfriend sad. That's not a good enough reason to bring a kid into the world. Can you afford to have a kid right now? Even choosing abortion can make you sad. You are allowed that emotion while making the right decision for you. Think of all scenarios. Mother giving baby up to adoption feels sad but doing the right thing. Leaving abusing relationships feels sad but knowing it has to happen. Sharing child custody with a good parent sad and missing your kid but know it's the right. Point being, a right decision does not equal happiness. And this is a good example of why eavesdropping on someone's private medical appointment is bad. He can still be on the same page as you but be sad about it. These situations aren't black and white. For example, even if he wanted you to keep it, he might feel more strongly about supporting you in what you want, so he supports you. Him being sad is just an emotional reaction to the circumstances, it's not a bearing on his stance or if both of you want to get an abortion or not. Just like you could be set on getting an abortion but also at the same time feel sad about it. I, 35 male, am sincerely beginning to dislike my wife, 33 female, for her high conflict personality. My wife and I have been together for 12 years, married for 5. We have a 3-year-old son together. I've always tried to be a non-confrontational guy. However, in the last couple of years, my wife has gone from a bit sassy to being what is frankly a woman with a terrible personality. Some examples. The other day our son was cranky in the morning. I sang a stupid song for him to make him laugh. My wife did not like that one bit. She threw a shitfit about how he was going to imitate the wrong lyrics. She did not stop talking about how I need to teach him only the correct lyrics to songs until I literally shut the door on my way to work. The conversation continued when I got home. We went to her parents' house for dinner last night. In front of her entire family, she abruptly started airing out all of my dirty laundry. That I got drunk a few nights before and fell asleep. It was a Saturday night and my first time getting drunk in 6 months. That I told her to stop shouting at me. Just complaint after complaint. Her family was clearly uncomfortable, and when her father responded that she should stop, she immediately adopted this 1,000-yard stare. She shouted at me on the train a few weeks ago. Crowded train. She legitimately did not give a shit. The reason for this treatment of me was that I tried to call her, and apparently my voice was slightly too loud for her liking. Another train was coming at the time, so I was just trying to make myself audible. I can't bring anything up with her. She just starts shouting, "Shut up, shut up, shut up," whenever she's the topic of the conversation. She never wants to hear it. She only wants to yell at me and complain and debate and fight, but I'm not allowed to say a word. I've come to the sad realization that I no longer like her as a person. Last night after the shit she pulled with her parents, I just stopped talking to her. She'd say something to me, usually another complaint, and I'd refuse to answer. Naturally she did not like this one bit, and so she started throwing a fit and slamming doors around the house. Is there any coming back from this feeling? It's been brewing in me for the past couple of years and I've hit a breaking point. I can't talk to her. I can't reason with her. She just wants to fight. It's all she likes to do now. Too long did not read. Wife only wants to argue and fight. Is there any coming back from this? I've come to the sad realization that I no longer like her as a person. A marriage can survive a lot of things, but this doesn't sound like one of them. From what you've written, she sounds awful. I would get my ducks in a row before you leave her. Was your wife always like this, or has it gotten worse? I know you're going to get recommendations for couples therapy, but that only works if both people recognize a problem and want to work toward a solution together. It doesn't sound like she can even manage a civil conversation. It's good, I guess, that her family recognizes that she's out of line. Is there anyone in her life who could talk some sense into her? Or at least ask her, do you think this is a normal way to talk to your spouse and child? And get some answers. Sadly, if she oblivious or thinks this is justified, I don't know what or who or how anything will get through to her. Did this ramp up after your son was born? I suppose you could try couples counseling, but honestly, she sounds horrible. So she has changed over the least few years and is declining in functioning as well as personality? She sounds unwell in some way. And X200B. Substance misuse? Could she be a secret drinker? Depression? It can present as irritability. Brain tumor, I suppose. And X200B. Anyway, the marriage can't continue like this. It's intolerable for you and your son. She gets assessed and treated or she goes. Based on these details, she is the problem. This is definitely abusive. And when one partner actively works against peace and conflict resolution, you will have neither. Couples counseling is a bad idea if one partner is abusive. I'm sorry, but it really sounds like you guys need to split. Plus, it can't be healthy for your kid to see these occurrences. She needs personal therapy and maybe a health checkup to make sure there isn't anything causing the drastic change in behavior, although maybe you just missed location flag over the years? It will be hard, but worth it. Peace is priceless. Edit. Also, maybe having him half of the time will make her less irritated with him. Maybe she'll even let you have him over half the time. I wonder if you could somehow get evidence showing her instability. 19M. Did a DNA test that could broke my family and destroy my dad, 50M. Hi everyone, sorry if I make mistakes, English is my second language. So here I go, I'm from France, really great family with my mom, 46 female, dad, 50 male, and twin sisters. We are typical mid-upper class family, but we used to be poor until the birth of my sisters when my father's business literally exploded and absolutely changing our lives for the better. We are not a perfect family, but we are here for each other's, and I have a really deep bond with my parents since we lived hell back then. Recently, with me moving to another place for uni, some friends had the great idea to take a DNA test, my heritage, 23andMe type of stuff, which I find really fun, but told everyone my results would not be that exciting since my parents are both European. Now here's the problem. I'm only half European and the other half from Asia, mostly China and a bit of India. I'm absolutely sure no one from my family are from there, and I know my grandparents really well. As I'm writing this, I'm absolutely freaking out that my mom could have cheated from my father. They are together since they're 18. There were nothing but Gwen and Liv between them, and mom always supported my father and his ambitious works. I always had exotic features like little tan skin or my eyes being pretty long, IDK if it makes sense, but always thought it was because my maternal granda was tanned too. I really have no one I could tell this right now since my closest friends are all busy with their uni lives. I'm losing my mind, I need advice please, I'm scared to lose my father, I absolutely adore him. Update. Here a little, big update for my previous post, this. Like people advised, I try to brought up the DNA test like a fun thing to do when I video called my parents. While my father laughed and said why not, my mom stayed quiet and changed subject. After the call, before starting to study a bit, my mom texted me. Basically she kind of scolded me about worrying for stupid stuff like these tests and not being focused on my studies. I mean, this semester wasn't my best, but I always had good grades and it never been an issue between us. She literally told me to not bring this idea anymore and just focus on my study. I really don't know what to think. I never had this kind of texts from her. We don't really argue a lot and I've always been closer to her, because dad worked a lot when I was young and stuff. I really feel like there is something hidden. I would have forgotten about this test and called it a mistake. But why did she reacted like that, god damn it. I really need to sleep, I don't think I'll go to school tomorrow. I would repeat the test. Then perhaps speak to your mom. Cheating is not the only possible explanation here. Your parents may have struggled to conceive. Are you 100% sure you're not adopted? You should tell your mom that you're interested in doing a DNA test and see how she reacts. It could be possible maybe a grandparent is the one who hasn't been honest or someone was adopted. Hang fire a mo. The results are 50-50 Asian, European, not parental DNA specific, so I wouldn't actually read too much into this European as a gestalt entity as vague as Asian as a result, not to mention that a vast number of Europeans have Asian DNA through migration, the Mongol hordes, genetic migration etc. It may simply be that your parents have a higher than average quantity of Asian ancestors, culminating in this result. Not to mention these DNA tests are notoriously vague and poor for identifying where genes actually come from. Finish university before you accidentally burn down the bridge. First, retest. Second, I'd start with your mom. I can think of at least 5 versions which are not the "mom cheated on dad, and he never knew" story. Point is, if this is real, ask her. My 30 female fiance, 30 male, supports his mother financially. My BF's mother came to this country with 6 of her siblings. She spent most of her life supporting her siblings, who were all willing and able to work, so that they could get on their feet. She refinanced her house to put her daughter through school and her 2 sons, one of them being my BF, to help start up their business. Now that everyone is well off, his mom expects her children to financially support her. Not just her living expenses, which would be understandable, but she expects him to also fund her extra expenses like vacations, gifts, clothes etc. Meanwhile, my parents were immigrant too. They stopped supporting their siblings, who were willing and able to work, and prioritized us instead. We spent 3/4 of their lives living within their means, which meant rat-infested motels and apartments, until they could afford a home that they could pay off. They put my brother and I in school and now they live at their home within their expense. They don't go out, take vacations and buy fancy things because their budget doesn't support that. My husband makes more than I do, but I still feel like in marriage, especially when it comes to having kids, I don't think that it's fair that we support his mother in that capacity. I don't want to come off as uncaring and not sure how to bring this up. Any advice would be appreciated. Too long did not read. My 30 female fiance, 30 male, supports his mother financially. The lifestyle your parents chose has nothing to do with him and his family. Sit down with him and explain your views on money. You're okay helping his mother with living expenses but nothing more. Then realize that he will make his own choice about finances and you have to decide if you can live with it or not. Don't like it, don't marry him. This is not a sudden shock to you. If you do not like the traditional family set up by this family, please do not marry into it. You decide that when you get married this family dynamic has to change? Not a good move, doomed before I do. Well, don't join your finances, that's for sure. Do his, hers, ours, where you each put into ours, based on % of total income to cover shared expenses. You can do the same with a savings ACCT. Then the rest goes into your personal ACCTS. That way, if he wants to buy things for his mother, he can and it doesn't impact you. You don't even have to know about it. What percentage of total budget is spent on financial assistance for his mother? Unfortunately, you do come off as heartless in this situation. You are not married yet, and this is his mother with whom he presumably has a positive relationship. If this is 50% of his total income, yes, I would be concerned. It depends on the amount. The unfortunate circumstances of her struggle post-immigration are not comparable to your narrative of your parents, living within their means, even though both situations were difficult to navigate. That's a false equivalency you are using to justify why she does not deserve financial assistance. What culture are you and what culture is your boyfriend? I'm Filipino. My family, we stick together. I actually enjoy spending time with them. My parents are going to love with me when they get too old. It is not uncommon.